Hello, my dear friends, how are you? Sometimes we come across somebody either as a boss, a colleague, even a family member, or someone else who is constantly criticizing us and not treating us fairly at all. Now, this is quite a painful situation. It is not a good situation at all that somebody is criticizing us constantly. It must be avoided. So my dear friends and fellows, it is quite painful as well. Now, what to do in a situation like this one? That is the topic of our today's discussion. What to do on the one hand and what not to do on the other hand. What to refrain from. So let's begin. First of all, we will share certain things which needs to be done, and these are seven in number. Things which we need to do are seven in number, and things which we must refrain, we must avoid doing. These are six in number. Let's begin. First of all, what to do in the first thing. And the first thing is to stay calm and composed. Stay calm and stay composed. That is very important, my dear friends and fellows. Because if at all we are not calm, we are not composed, it means that we will be doing certain things later on, we will regret a lot. So how to stay calm? How to stay composed? First of all, it is take, take deep breaths. Taking deep breaths and count to 10. Count to 10 and take deep breaths. Count to 10 and collect your thoughts. That is the first thing to do. And it is called stay calm, stay composed. Now, the second thing is that listen actively. Listen actively. Why to listen actively to somebody who is constantly criticizing us? It is because try to understand why to listen actively, because they may be making any valid point. So that is why we need to listen actively. The third thing which we need to do is that is reflect on your actions. Reflect on your actions, reflect on your talks you may have been doing. You may have been saying something which is not appropriate, and that is why you are facing a constant criticism. So it is important to reflect on your actions, consider whether there is any truth to the criticism, and if you can learn from it. Now, the fourth thing which we need to do is that is set boundaries. Setting boundaries politely but firmly let the critic know that their constant criticism is not constructive, is not welcome at all, because that is something quite bad for me. Set boundaries means stopping them politely but firmly, letting them know, letting them understand that your constant criticism, it is hurting me, it is damaging me, and that is not something which is welcome at all. Now, the fifth thing which we need to do here, that is seek support. Seeking support. How and from where to seek the support? Talk to the family member if at all there is anybody suitable. Talk to the trusted friends and talk to a therapist if at all it is needed. Why? Because my dear friends and fellows, it is really important. The matter is really important. It cannot be ignored. Seeking the support is very important from a family member, from a trusted friend, or from therapist about the situation and how it is affecting your life, how it is affecting you. That is the point number five, seek support. Now, point number six is what to do. Point number six is practice self-care. Practicing self-care. And how can we practice the self-care? It is take care of your physical, your emotional, and your mental well-being. Taking care of your physical, your emotional, and your mental well-being to maintain the resilience, because being resilient It is very important. And not being resilient, that is mean that we will not be able to manage and control all that. So becoming a resilient person, that is very important. And it is really important to take care of our physical, emotional, mental well-being. As for the physical well-being is concerned, we need to sleep some at least 7 to 8 hours every night. We need to exercise for an hour a day, and we need to eat the nutritious food, avoiding the junk food. Now, the seventh and the last point which we need to do is that is consider the source. What is this, by the way? It is consider whether the critics' opinion are credible and worthy of your attention. Consider whether the critics' opinions are credible and worthy of your attention. So that is the point number 7, my dear friends and fellows. These are the 7 things to do, and very important indeed, each one of these 7 points. Now, there are certain things which we need to refrain from. There are certain there are there are certain things to avoid, to refrain from, and these are, my dear friends and fellows. Number one, taking it personally. Not to take it personally at all. Rather, try to internalize the criticism, or take it as a personal attack. Try not to internalize it, not to internalize the criticism, and not to take it as a personal attack. Rather, it is refrain from taking it personally. Don't take it on your heart. Number two, the second thing which we need to refrain from, it is getting defensive. Getting defensive. How to stop getting defensive? It is avoid becoming overly defensive. Avoid becoming overly defensive or dismissive. Neither we have to become overly dismissive, nor we have to become overly defensive, as this can escalate the situation. So this is the second thing to refrain from, and it is getting defensive. Now the third thing which we need to refrain from, it is engaging in the arguments. Do not engage in the arguments at all. Why? Refraining from arguments or debating with the refrain from arguing or debating with the critic, as this can be unproductive and draining as well. Unproductive on the one hand, draining on the other hand, and refrain from arguing or debating with the critic. Now, the fourth thing which we need to refrain from, it is seeking revenge. Seeking revenge is also very bad for we ourselves, and avoid seeking revenge or trying to get back. Avoid seeking revenge or trying to get back at the critic, as this can lead to the further conflict. We don't have to further conflict at all. And as for seeking the revenge or getting back at the critic, this can lead to the further conflict, and we have to refrain from it. Now, the fifth thing which we need to refrain from, it is ruminating on the criticism. Ruminating on the criticism, we must be avoiding. And what is the rumination? It is replaying all that in the replaying the criticism in our mind over and over and over. Try not to dwell on the criticism. Ruminating on the criticism mean not to dwell on the criticism, or to replay it over and over in your mind. Ruminating on the criticism mean trying not to dwell on the criticism, or not to replay it over and over in your mind. Now the sixth and the last item which we need to refrain from, it is letting it affect your self-worth. Letting it affect your self-worth, we must be avoiding it. And please remember that your self-worth and your self-identity your self-worth and your identity are not defined by others. Please understand that your self-worth and the worth of yours in your own mind, it is not affected by anyone else at all. It is not defined by anyone else at all. Rather, it is we ourselves. and we don't give any right to our critic and to define our self-worth are that is very very important. Not our identity is in our own hand. Now please remember, the bottom line is you can't control how others behave. How important it is. You can't control how others behave, but you can definitely control your own response to criticism. You can definitely control your own response to criticism if you are determined to do that. Our today's talk was highly beneficial, and I think each one of us need to understand it. That is all from me today. Thank you very much.